Love at first sight. Is it real or a fantasy? We're going to dive into this conversation. Is it real or is it fantasy? Can we just stop discounting things? Everything is real to some degree, but we might want to say, is it a projection? In other words, are we creating false expectations for us when we meet someone where we feel an incredible amount of connection? I'm going to repeat that. When you feel an incredible amount of connection with someone, you might be asking yourself, is it going to turn into something serious? Is it something going to cultivate from this? Those are good questions to have, but at the same time, you're having an experience. So today we're going to dive into something, and I'm going to be rather personal with everyone. This is going to be from my own personal life. And so I know many times people will say something, do as I say, not as I do, practice what I preach. Okay. And so I might be criticized in this video. You might be saying, well, Jonathan, this goes against what you say publicly. I get that. But I'm just going to ask you to have an open mind as I share what I'm about to share with you all. And we'll see, and we're going to unpack the pros and cons of rushing some things or taking it slow. So I have a personal share with everyone, and this is the post that I did on YouTube yesterday. And I'm going to read it out loud, and we're going to unpack it together, okay? And the post goes like this. How do you stay grounded when you're excited? Every once in a while, when you connect with someone from a dating and relationship perspective, you can become highly excited to meet them because the connection feels special. And this is where I'm at today. In full transparency, I've connected with someone online, and we plan to meet in a few days, actually 2 days from the time of this recording. To give you some context, we connected through a dating site we connected on a dating site 8 days ago, and we had a FaceTime video chat 5 days ago. And during that conversation, we planned on meeting. And since then, we've had numerous conversations digging into the nooks and crannies of our lives. And each conversation seems to be building upon the next. In fact, each conversation feels like a date because we're doing FaceTime, and I find myself attracted to her. And more importantly, it causes me to be very attracted to who she is. I just want to differentiate something. And this isn't part of the script I shared or the blog I shared, but while I'm physically attracted to her, these conversations have me attracted to who she is as a person. And I think she feels the same way. And again, because these are video chats, this feels different than just merely talking on the phone or texting. I know so many people that have these extended communications via text, but I think it's radically different when you do FaceTime. But with that said, here's my dilemma. I'm having a difficult time staying grounded, meaning it feels really tempting to get ahead of myself before we meet. Cognitively, I understand that this is limerence because, as one of my friends says, it isn't real until it's real. And while I've fallen into this trap before, and I can honestly say this feels different. Oh, and I know I've said that too, everybody. How many times I said, well, this time it's different. I probably have said that a couple of times. So my question is for myself, how to stay grounded, or where's the line between getting excited and staying grounded? How would you describe that space? Here's my truth. The dopamine is running pretty high, and I'm having difficulty not going off the deep end. I'll be honest. Look, I know I'm a coach. I'm human. So I share this with everybody because I'm finding it fascinating to witness myself. In other words, I'm having this experience of connecting with someone that feels radically different. And I know many people have felt the same. They have found themselves in this state of limerence, of attraction, of lust, and that sort of thing. And certainly we have to keep our feet on the ground, so to speak, because it isn't real. And what I mean to say, no, let me retract that because I said this before. We have to stop saying it's not real. What I'm feeling is very real. My feelings are very real. We have to stop saying things like they're not real. The feelings are real. Now, am I projecting things out for the future? Well, we need to talk about taking it slow versus rushing it. And we'll dive into that conversation in a moment. You know, it's interesting to me because much of the dating advice out there suggests everybody take it slow. Everybody take it slow. That's the thing. Take it slow. Do you realize that most couples up until about 50 to 60 years ago met and married in a very short time? Think about that. Throughout history, they met and married in a very short time, and they stayed married for a very, very long time. You know, I don't know the timeline with my parents, but I know they barely knew each other, got married, and they were married for 66 years. How many of your friends that are baby boomers or part of the silent generation, excuse me, not the people born baby, I mean, excuse me, for those of us who are baby boomers, who parents, they got married in a nanosecond and they stayed together for a very long time. Why is that? Why is that different than today? Now, certainly human beings have a lot more complicated life. So it could mean that, that we have to look at, it definitely means we should look at relationships differently. And I will say from a take it slow perspective, we should certainly take it slow from our expectations. So when I say I'm excited, when I say I'm looking forward, when I'm really in this dopamine space, it's to be optimistically cautious or optimistically detached from an outcome. Let me repeat that, optimistically detached from an outcome. I'm not attached to the outcome. If it works out, great. If it doesn't work out, I'm okay too. See, I think when you can come at it from that objective, optimistically objective, someone write that in the chat box for me, optimistically objective. Now, this is where things start to get a little bit tricky. Some people get radically attached after physical intimacy. If you get incredibly attached after physical intimacy, you may want to take your time in spaces like that, or take your time getting attached to a person. That would make sense. Whether it's a emotional bonding or physical bonding, is to be as objective. That makes sense. But at the same time, dating today is like a long drawn out version of friends with benefits. People spend weeks and months only to be back at the same spot they were. They took off like a rocket and crashed and burned, took off like a rocket, crashed and burned. What I mean is, those are the people that took it slow. When I say took off like I've got to retract that. I made a mistake when I say took off like a rocket, crashed and burned. These are people that took it slow, and crashed and burned. They might have taken off on a rocket from the sex perspective. That's what I meant by that. But they took it slow and they crashed and burned. Okay. It's interesting. Since my divorce, I'm going to be candid with everyone. I've had over 300 first dates since my divorce in the last 20 years. Of those 300 first dates, 5 of those women turned into 3 to 4 month relationships. 5 of those women turned into 3 to 4 month relationships. Then there were 2 additional women that lasted for over a year. And one of those women, I lived with them. And I will say this, one of those relationships was had a very emotionally painful ending with one person I thought was the one. So did you hear that? 300 first dates, 7 women that I dated, 5 women I dated for 3 or 4 months, 2 additional women I dated for a year or longer, 1 woman I fell deeply in love with and it didn't work out. Why am I sharing this with you? Well, I certainly have a fair amount of life experience. I'm no novice here sharing my experiences with everyone. I'm not here to share the recipe for a relationship success, because I think relationship success is, I think what's more important is emotional well-being. That's the most important thing. It's why I wrote a book about it. What the heck is self-love anyway? A journey of personal development, self-help, and spiritual work. That's my main message. And I use dating and relationships as the conversations. So what have all these experiences taught me? You know what it's taught me? First off, everyone's journey is unique to their soul's need in this lifetime. Let me repeat, everyone's journey is unique to their soul's need in this lifetime. Therefore, my experiences are the lessons I needed to become more whole and connected to my divinity. Some people can take piano lessons and be a gifted virtuoso in a second. Okay, that's very few people. And others take decades of practice and still don't get it. And then there are those in between. I'm using the piano analogy to merely point out that, that's what life is about. It's a lesson. All of these experiences I've had are a lesson. So how do I differentiate between real and fantasy? I want someone to write this down, okay? I want you to write down, our head represents our ego. Someone write head equals ego. Someone write heart equals emotions. And someone write gut equals intuition. So head is ego, heart is emotions, gut is intuition. The head, the heart, the gut, okay? So as I'm sharing this with you, I'm navigating between my ego and my heart, okay? I don't feel egoically attached to this person. I don't feel emotionally attached to this person. But my gut is saying to give this person a really solid chance. See, when we can begin to learn to our intuition, it's actually our intuition is a powerful force to differentiate between real and fantasy. Because I do believe when two souls connect at a heart level, heart-centered level, let me repeat that. Two souls connect at a heart-centered level, and their watermark is relatively the same. It's like, it's Christmas time and there's 100 packages under the tree, but two packages have the same wrapping or close to the same wrapping. They're at the same watermark. When those two people meet, because how many times have you heard, I just knew. I just knew. I just knew. Whenever that is those are the people that are listening to their intuition. Now, many of you are confused about your intuition. You confuse the ego or the ego, which is the head, or the emotions, which is the heart. You confuse the two. Your gut is always speaking to you, and your gut is always right. It's the capacity to learn to listen to our gut. Many of you ladies listen to your ego or your heart. So coming back to the idea of love at first sight, I do believe on rare occasions, two souls meet that are perfectly aligned, and it is very, very easy, or relatively easy. Let me put it that way. When two souls that are relatively equally aligned, it's relatively easy. You hear this time and time again. When you hear someone say, I just knew, it's because they were listening to their intuition. It was easy. What I like about this woman is by the way, we've had a ton of FaceTime chat, so it's not like I haven't visualized this person. But our conversations are so easy, and boy, are they intricately in depth. I mean, we've gotten into the nooks and crannies of our emotional life. And so, listen, this is part one. I will be sharing my story. I'll share my story after our first meeting. So just allow this to progress. I'll call this part one. I'll progressively record more videos to give you. And why I'm sharing this with you, because look, I'm no different than you. Do I get caught up on limerence and lust? Do I get caught up on the dopamine? Absolutely. I'm a human being like the rest of you. I just want to share from my experiences, and maybe just by sharing some of this, you might go, oh, I get it. I get what the intuition is versus the ego or the heart. And again, there's no right or wrong of this. You are on your own individual journey. You might have had multiple short-lived relationships or first dates or whatever, or one gigantic long experience. Someone just posted a comment, FaceTime is not the same as face-to-face. I get it, but it's a lot better than texting, and it's a lot better than the telephone. I just want to add that to what someone is just saying. All right. Hey, listen, is this conversation affecting you in any way? I'd like to hear your thoughts. Post a comment below. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, there's links below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. There's a link to join my group called Midlife Love Mastery. There's a link to follow me on Instagram, get the books I recommend, all listed below. All right, those who know my live format know it's time for Q&A. If you have a question, there's a little chat box in there, down there. Write the word question, then post the question thereafter. Or you can purchase a super sticker, super chat. There's a little $ in the chat box. All the monies from the super sticker, super chat goes to a scholarship fund in the name of my son, Connor Asley. That's a picture of him right there with his brother, Colin. He's my son who passed away over 6 years ago. In his honor, we donate to causes like the Hoffman Process, Insight Institute, and scholarships for coaching as well. And our goal tonight is $50. So I'd appreciate the love. Oh, and if anyone wants to join me on the love seat, there's a link to join me live that I posted in the chat box as well. Lynn wants to say, good for you, Jonathan, for taking a chance. You know what? I like being excited. It's fun being excited. It's, you know, how many times you go on a date and you're just like passive about it? You know, it's very rare that you connect with someone at this level. It makes me think of the show Love is Blind. You know, in the show Love is Blind, they spend a lot of time in these pods getting to know one another before they physically meet. So it's just interesting in that regard. So it's kind of fun in that regard to, I kind of see the potential value of spending a lot of time getting to know each other. Here's the shitty thing that happens. You spend a lot of time getting to know each other and there's no mutual attraction when you meet. I get it. That's a recipe for disaster. But if there's mutual attraction and you feel comfortable, it accelerates the learning curve. Anyway, Beach Lover just gave us a $5 super sticker. You do you, Jonathan. You've got this. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I saw a question come in earlier. Question from Gigi. If one of us told you exactly what you're telling us, you would say you wouldn't even meet this person and scold us for getting attached through our devices. I disagree. I agree with you. Okay, that's why I started this conversation. You know, I have to be careful of do as I say, do as I say, not as I do kind of thing. So here's the thing. I have a new awareness. I think FaceTime is a must for every first encounter. Whether you're going to meet in a day and you live around the corner with each other, in this particular case, it's long distance. I am a big proponent of doing FaceTime. I've always been a proponent. What I haven't been a proponent of is when your ego is driving the bus or your emotions are driving the bus. That's why I scold people, because they are oftentimes caught up in the projection. Let me just say this. Always go slow with your expectations. That, what I scold women for is they've projected a future with someone before they've ever met them. That's not a good idea. I'm not projecting a future. I'm just focused on the first meeting. That it's, you know, do I think if you haven't seen a photograph, you're only texting each other or telephone calls? I think it's a little bit dangerous. But if FaceTime, I think, is the closest thing to a real date as possible, or doing a video chat, I think that's the closest thing. Look at, I have video, look at, I'm video chatting with you and it's real. Anyway, but I appreciate your question. So thank you. Stormy Blue says, I feel FaceTime can be vulnerable, whether it's pixels or not. I mean, I have a relationship with amazing people all over the world for decades based on hundreds of hours of chat. Yeah, I mean, I have clients that I've been talking to for years, and we have I have dear friends I've talked for years through Zoom and Google Meet and such like that. So I don't think we should discount that. I think telephone and texting is, you know, it's not the same as FaceTime. That's why this feels different. So when I say do as I say, not as I do, I'm doing this because I believe it's different. I could be wrong, but I believe it's different. All right, let's keep going here. Oh, and Power Chi wants to remind everyone, meet in person right away. Well, we first spoke on Saturday. We're meeting on a Friday. So that's literally within 6 days. That, you know, what I scold people on is dragging things out for a long time, Gigi. People that drag things out. I'm not a big proponent of that. Let's see what Catherine says. What I'm hearing is not what has been communicated to ladies over these years. Women have been criticized for doing the. No, I criticize, and I'm here. I want to, you know, because I feel like I'm being attacked. I criticize the projection. That's what I criticize. I criticize the projection about someone. I'm not projecting anything. I'm just excited to meet this person. That's a lot different than planning my future and saying this is the most perfect person on the planet. I'm not saying any of those things. It's just getting excited about meeting someone, and we spent a lot of time getting to know each other by asking deeper questions. I criticize women habitually. You're absolutely right. What do I criticize? Because the conversations are so fucking surface. It's all about, how's your day going? Did you have a good day? I hope you had a good day. Whereas she and I have gone through my laundry list of my radical honesty questions. We have asked things like, from the book, 8 Dates by Drs. John and Julie Gottman, Catherine. We're not having trivial, childish conversations that I criticize women for. We're having deep conversations. There's a big difference. In fact, even here's the thing. Many of you are going out on first dates with men, and they're still trivial conversations. You're not getting it. I just recently someone reached out for private coaching, and she said, you know, when should have they've been dating 3 months? I go, she's like wanting to ask him this particular question. She goes, when should I ask him? I said, you should have asked that on the first date. That's what I criticize. That's what I'm crucifying, preaching against, is not treating, first off, creating a projection over someone you haven't met. I'm not creating a projection. I'm just excited about meeting someone. That's it. I have no idea what's going to happen after that. Stormy says, yes, it's real. We're so lucky to have modern advanced technologies to keep in touch. Yeah. But I will say, now, in all fairness, trust is built through social activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends. That is how trust is built, through social activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends. That's how you build trust. So I don't know yet if that's the path that's going to happen in this relationship. I also crucify women for what they have is known as a bubble relationship. They simply get together, hook up, have a lot of sex, and go back to their homes. They're not doing social activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends. I was in a long distance relationship last time. Those are the things we did that progressed for us to move in together. It didn't work out, but I'm preaching. I'm actually living what I preach. I'm just now sharing the difference between creating a projection or a fantasy over someone versus having optimistic, optimistic, what's the word I used? enthusiastically, not optimistic. Oh God, what was the I have to go back and watch it. I used a phrase, not indifference. Oh God, now I can't remember what it is. So I'll come up with it later. All right, let's see what oh, here we go. KT has a question. Have you ever talked about how often you'll see each other and how you'll blend your lives? You know what? I think, by the way, great question. And we briefly touched upon it. We agreed that we have to have this first meeting. We have to have this first meeting. You know, after the first meeting, I'm going to talk about the things I talk about habitually. How will we make this work? What's our plan to take the distance from long to short? So I'm going to be sharing with you all of this as it goes along. I could have been quiet, not told you anything. Not told you anything. First off, I'm not saying this is the one. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just excited about meeting someone who seems really nice, okay? Is it the one? My intuition says that there's a real potential. That's what my intuition says. There's real potential. But I'm not caught up in the fantasy. There's a big difference. You don't know until you actually go out and meet someone. Now, coming back to the big questions, how would that work? That's something that has to be discussed. And by the way, if you live an hour away, you're dealing with the same thing. Someone wrote, Phil said, optimist expectation. No, that's, I had a different phrase of earlier. Now I can't remember what it was. Not optimistically cautious. Another word for cautious, optimistically, it's not being attached to the outcome. Optimistically detached. That's what I mean. Optimistically detached. Can someone write that down? Optimistically detached. This is what I'm preaching, so you don't get so far ahead of yourself. That's the issues that I criticize, is when you get too far ahead of yourself. I'm just focused on the first date. That's all, the first meeting. We'll see what happens after that. And yes, this is a long distance dynamic power of chi. Of course, I know I'm usually poo-pooing long distance relationships, but I do know it's not that they don't work out. They can work out, but keep in mind, most people have had multiple relationships, whether they lived around the corner, they lived an hour away, they lived an hour plane, 1 hour drive away, 1 hour plane ride away, or 5 hour plane ride away, or a whole different continent. When two people actually want to make something work, they have that capacity to do it. They just oftentimes enter into relationships. They enter into relationships naively, and that's not how I'm going about it. Kristen wants to know how far. She lives 281 miles away, 282 miles away. Stormy wrote it down for us, optimistically detached. Exactly. All right. Do you have any questions for me? Does anyone want to join me on the hot seat or the love seat? And we can talk about this in a little bit more detail. I just posted links right there. And Power of Chi says, long distance sucks. I agree. Long distance sucks. It totally does. You're missing out on opportunities for those quick little, by the way, I'm still a big proponent, but these days, listen, love isn't knocking on your door every day of the week. You know what? It was a fluke that she and I connected through a dating app. I want to be candid with you. I feel like it's a fluke. And look, it might not work out. I'm not here to say this is going to work out. I'm just excited about, by the way, isn't it fun to be excited? See, that's what I'm also trying to suggest for everyone. When we get excited about the process, we're more optimistic. It saddens me how many of you have become bitter and jaded and disillusioned. It sucks being bitter, jaded, and disillusioned. I'm here merely to say, I am excited. I haven't been this excited in years. I think I'm more excited about this meeting. By the way, my last relationship was more of a fluke. I was certainly excited after we met, and I was excited about the relationship, but isn't this what this is all about? Isn't this what you want to be feeling? Don't you want to be feeling excited? Now, the trick is how to stay grounded when you're excited. Be objectively optimistic. Oh my God, thank you. That was it. Objectively optimistic or objectively optimistic. I've got to write that down. That's what I was trying to remember. Objectively optimistic. Objectively optimistic. If someone, I want to really hone in on this. Objectively optimistic. That's the way we should be approaching it. I don't care if they live 1 mile away, 100 miles away, 1,000 miles away. Oh, Kristen wants to know, is she watching these videos and does it worry you if she does? First off, she's watched the video I did the other day about long distance dating. She probably is watching this video right now, or she might watch it late. She shared with me. I'm very upfront out of respect for her because she shared she's a private person. I will not be sharing personal things about her as this journey goes along. I'll be sharing about my emotional state with you all as this journey unfolds, but I'm not going to share personal things. Brian says, good for you, man. You sound very excited. Don't let anyone dull your shine. Look at Brian. I do have to recognize that I have certainly scolded women for sounding the same, but what I usually scold them for is the projection. I'm not projecting anything. I just feel like I'm speaking to a cool chick. She's so cool. I like how thoughtful she is. She's done some very thoughtful things since we have asked each other so many deep questions about our marriages. She shared with me some very vulnerable things, and we've built trust with one another. McCoy says Tauruses are private people unless they trust the person. Interesting. I think I mentioned before she's a Taurus and I'm a Leo. So can someone run a chart for us on Taurus and Leo? Stormy Blue says, it's nice to see a crush on your face. Keep on the sunny side of things. Thank you so much. Wanda wants to go on to say, go for it. Go for it. You are excited. If she's feeling the same, then go for it. McCoy says, I need details. I got to be careful on the details, but I will share with you this. Folks, many of you have surface conversations when you're dating. I go beyond the surface. I go much deeper. I go way deeper emotionally with the person. By the way, critical things I needed is someone that did personal development, self-help, spiritual work, someone that's interested in spiritual journeys with me, somebody who's healed from their marriage, and more. By the way, thankfully, she had a garden variety normal fucked up childhood instead of the intense fucked up childhood that many of the women in my life have experienced. Let me repeat that. She's had a garden variety fucked up childhood. And what I mean by fucked up, I mean she had a garden variety childhood versus the deeply, intensely fucked up shit that happened in childhood. Folks, you could probably look at every relationship ending. For the people that haven't healed their childhood wounds, it's one of the reasons why they have failed or relationship challenges. If you haven't read the book, The Hoffman Process, this is a deep dive into healing childhood wounds and adult traumas. Power of Chi says she's watching. I think she is. By the way, I apologize. I'm not going to give her birth date, location. I think that's private to her. Kristen says, I think opening up to us online make it more difficult for you to start and make a relationship. I'm very transparent, very transparent. This is part, by the way, me sharing my life experience is part of this journey because I know how many, raise your hand. Have you how I have felt. Have you have felt? Have I have felt? Say, yes, Jonathan, I've experienced this before. How many of you experienced something like this? Now, by the way, statistically speaking, the odds are that it's not going to work out. That's statistically speaking. But you know what? Love is a risk. Still the best game in town. Better to feel a fuck yes than a hell no. Anyway, Bridge says, personal question, do Leo men get on with Virgo women? Have you experienced this? I don't know the answer to that. Oh, here we go. Lynn says, I've experienced it. Via says, yes, I have. Kristen says, yes, I have, but I don't get to see me talk about it, how I'm feeling. Yes, but they don't get to see me talk about it online. Yeah, I'm an unusual character. So already many people have been in this space, but listen, I'm objectively optimistic. I'm optimistically detached to the outcome. I have no idea what's going to happen. That's why it's called a journey. Stormy says, yes, but mind over matter. It's your love story to write, Jonathan. No one else to write for you. We can't wait to read the love story you write. I'm going to be sharing things along the way. Folks, I'm without compromising privacy, I will share from my perspective. I will do my best to share the good, the bad, the ugly, But I do, it's interesting. For every couple I've spoken to that felt like they had love at first sight, this is why I wrote I'm doing this video. For every couple I've spoke that said, you know what, I just knew that they were the one very, very early on. I mean, most of their relationships were easy. They were easy. That's the common thread. They knew very early on, and it was easy thereafter. I'll be candid with you. I haven't I don't think I've ever been in love with someone who's been in love with me at the same time. So maybe this is going to be that experience. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But I tell you, it's worth the ride. Anyway, Beach Lover says, love is a rose, but you better not pick it. It only grows when it's on a vine. Good point. Let's see. Okay. Jade says, yep, feeling you, Jonathan. Objectively detached and Chuck dipped in optimism with a few mixed nuts on top. I love it. Thank you so much, Jade. I appreciate it. Kristen says, when I asked how far, I was asking more how long of a car or plane ride. It's a 45-minute plane ride and a 4-hour car ride, the distance between us. You know what? And that's actually, that's a gigantic pain in the ass. I'll be candid with you. I keep thinking, God, if you only lived 2 hours away instead of 4 hours away. And then I would say, God, if you only lived an hour away instead of 2 hours away. And then I would say, God, if you only lived a half hour versus an hour, I could see myself doing that. Okay. Let's keep going. Jonathan, we're your sisters and we'll sit at the porch with the shotgun. I love it. I love it. Well, thankfully, I do a great job with my own shotgun vetting. Certainly I've reflected on the fact that to some degree I rushed my last relationship. But you know what? I'm grateful for it. I think it actually could have been worse if we didn't jive in together. I never would have gotten all the juicy fun parts, but more importantly, all the juicy lessons that got out of it. I actually wonder now if we should just dive into relationships, see if we can handle the deep end and go from there. Because this long, drawn out version is just really a lot of hooking up friends with benefits, situationships, and casual relationships. That's the problem, is they're not diving in, they're dragging it out. That's the way I see things anyway. Okay, wait a minute. I want to see what Marilyn says. Gigi, I agree with you, but we won't be validated here. That will not be a popular opinion. FaceTime is not the same. I agree. FaceTime is not the same as face-to-face, but it's the closest second best thing to face-to-face. Ultimately, once you're face-to-face, social activities, hobbies, mutual interests, spending time with family and friends, traveling together are the critical importance. Face-to-face time or FaceTime is better than telephone, and it's way better than text. And I can't tell you how many people are in relationships and they've never actually seen what the person looks like, and they've carried on for years. That's the fantasy. I say, first thing you should ever do from this point forward, ladies, before you ever meet a man on a date who's you're meeting through an online dating site, do a FaceTime. She insisted on FaceTime as our first communication. That is a mandatory going forward. Mandatory FaceTime before ever meeting someone if you're meeting through an online connection. Can someone write that down? Can someone repeat what I just said? Mandatory FaceTime before if you're meeting an online connection for the first time. Stormy, right there. Okay, mandatory FaceTime. That's a great idea. Mandatory FaceTime. No ifs, ands, or buts. Save time. And by the way, if they're in the distance and you can't see them and you hear a lot of loud noises, that's a scammer from Nigeria. Okay? By the way, I'm a big proponent. Immediately meet. Okay, so mandatory FaceTime. Meet immediately or as soon as humanly possible. Honestly, if you really hit it off, if like she and I hit it off, as soon as humanly possible. Mandatory FaceTime. Meet as soon as humanly possible. Someone write that down. Bridge says, dating someone with bipolar was a project, never knowing which pole you're talking to. Doesn't matter. A bipolar person could live 2 minutes from you. Let's see. Wait a minute. McCoy just says, watch the FaceTime scammers just use a video. Could you elaborate on that? Hey, Jonathan. Yes, Lisa. Jahalia says that I like the dive in suggestion. This maybe that's, you know what? Maybe taking it slow is the big problem. Now, I would say take your expectations slow, be objectively optimistic, but maybe diving in is what's needed. I said this in the beginning of our conversation. Every marriage up until about 60 years ago, they dove in fast. And those are the marriages that seem to last. So I think the diving in is saying, look, we're both intentional. We're both interested. I'm just making some suggestions here. Tammy says, it sounds like ADD dating, impulsive and immediate. That's a perception. It's not impulsive to be excited. It's not impulsive to be intentional. It's just me. Our current dating structure is, again, a long drawn out version of hooking up, friends with benefits, situations, and casual relationships. That's our biggest problem, is they're not serious. Oh, wait. Beware of AI generated FaceTimes. Is that for real? I've never heard that. Is that for real? That's interesting. That would be a sophisticated scammer. That would be a sophisticated scammer. Do you have any questions? Does anyone want to join me live on the Love Seat? Does anyone want to ask me this live? It would be a fun conversation. McCoy says, yes, I had a guy contact me on a dating site. I told him we should go to FaceTime. It was not real, but a video. It was weird and glitchy. That's, again, it should look just like this. If it doesn't look like this, it's a scammer. I fully agree. Stormy says, yes, scammers are sometimes trying to scam with my friends who are rock stars. It's funny. Interesting. So Power of Chi says, yeah, that saddens me. Well, then what are you going to do? Then you know what the thing to do is meet as fast as humanly possible. I say do a FaceTime and meet as fast as humanly possible. That avoids the scam artists. Bridge says, some men say seriously, but eventually behave casually. You know, look at, I get it. There's a lot of flakes. There's a lot of users. Look at, love is a risk. It's a risk. Still the best game in town, but it is a risk. McCoy Hill said, Lewis and I met within a week of contact. Exactly. How often did the two of you see each other after meeting? I'm curious. Stormy wants to remind us of a song, Love is a Battlefield. Who sang that? Was that Pat Benatar? Love is a Battlefield? It's kind of sad, but probably true. Let's keep going here. Yes, it was Pat Benatar. Lewis, tell us or McCoy Hill, how often did you see each other after you met, Lewis? Excuse me, I'm thirsty. Music is sacred. Does anyone have a question for me? Otherwise, we're going to be wrapping up a little bit sooner than I'd like to. I'd like to go. Oh, here we go. So McCoy has written, we dated 5 times in a 2-month period. I was working 50 to 60-hour weeks plus things at home. Okay. Certainly that, I would encourage a more concentrated time together, but it sounds like because of your work schedules, this worked for you. Okay, that's good to hear. How long have you two been together now, McCoy Hill Farm? How long have you two been together? Power Chi wants to write, meet in person as soon as possible. Abso-fucking-lutely. Meet as fast as humanly possible. What else can I tell you? You know what, guys? I do want to say something to everybody. Obviously, I shared with you, I've had a lot of dating experience. I've had a half a dozen relationships that last, or 5 relationships that lasted for 3 to 4 months. I certainly had 2 significant relationships after my divorce, 1 person I lived with. I learned so much about myself. I learned finally what I really want and how, and basically I learned I used all of my coaching skills to vet this person. I've done a lot to vet this person to determine if we are potentially compatible with one another. I am practicing what I preach in my private coaching, is vetting someone to be discerning. Hey, I have no idea if this is, love at first sight, if it's real or if it's a fantasy. I don't know. I don't know. That's the difference. I'm not projecting the future. I'm just being optimistically detached. I'm being optimistically objective, objectively optimistic. You know what? Truthfully, I like this person. I really do. Guys, I know you could give me shit, but I really do like this person. I don't know what it is. It's this weird gut feeling that it's funny. So just to tell you something about her and I, so I'm a kind of a flirt, and I like to send text messages with lots of emojis to illustrate emotion. And she sent me a message saying, hey, you should know something about me. When I send text messages, I send lots of emojis to illustrate emotion. And she was telling me this because I sent her one text message that was a little bit confusing. And she goes, if you could just put an emoji to give me your emotion. And I go, damn, you're just like me. We've had a lot of you're just like me's. So anyway, I'm just excited. And this interestingly piggybacks on this question. Jonathan, a few weeks ago, you made a post about some changes you were making to your YouTube channel. You never elaborated. You know what? It's interesting. I had this big declaration. I made this big declaration to myself 3 weeks ago that I'm going to sell everything and travel the world. I'm just going to let go of trying to find love. I just want to do an eat, pray, love journey. I made a declaration 3 months ago. You know what? Then I sat with it for a week and I'm like, no, that's not what I want to do. I thought about it. I was like, I'm ready to do an eat, pray, love journey. But I realized my life is an eat, pray, love journey. My life is an eat, pray, love journey. So I don't need to go travel the world to find myself. I don't need to sell everything to find myself. And I let go of what I needed when it came to a relationship. And fuck, if not 2 weeks later, I connect with someone that I'm really excited about. Folks, I have no idea if this is the right person for me. All I know is I really like who this person is. And I can tell the difference because of all the work I've been doing on myself. And this is my invitation for all of you to do the personal development, to do the self-help, to do the spiritual work, to do the self-love work. That's my encouragement. That's why I get on every day, because I want to encourage everyone to build the emotional scaffolding in their lives, not to attract their life mate, but to find peace and happiness within themselves. Let's see what's going on here. So thank you for that question. Power G wants to say, that gut feeling could be gas. Just don't get too carried away. Again, objectively optimistic, optimistically objective. Stormy said, did you know YouTube was originally a dating app? I actually once had an inbox. That's funny. Your new thing sounds like a good thing. Thank you so much. Virgil says, do you think driving is fast? Do you think driving in fast could be a little dangerous? I'd like to get to know. I don't understand your question. I don't understand fast in relationship to driving. If you're talking about, do you think I'm moving too fast? No, I don't. Like, honestly, FaceTime, meet as soon as possible. That's what everybody should be doing. We should be moving faster is kind of my point. We got to stop moving so slow. Camille says, so happy for you and best of luck. You deserve a great relationship. I listened to all your videos. I've learned so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Beach Lover wants to remind me, please, Gus, let Jonathan find someone that aligns with him in his growth. We ask this for our dear big brother, and want the best for him. Watch over him, we pray. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. How old is this video? I'm wondering if you ditched the beautiful woman you were with who appeared on your program with you. Sandra, you are so outdated. That relationship ended in July of 2023. We are now November of 2024. That was almost a year and a half ago, Sandra. That relationship ended a year and a half ago. Wanda wants to say, mine came when I stopped looking and he's everything. You know what? I literally 3 weeks ago declared I'm done. And then look what happens. Anyway, you know what? Love at first sight. Is it real or is it fantasy? Let's just face it. Everything is real. We just oftentimes create delusions and projections and oftentimes false expectations. Let me just say this. When you get excited, when you meet someone you think that could potentially be this person that you're meant to go on this journey with, you are always going to go on the journey. That is real. The question is, are you going to be optimistically objective or objectively optimistic or objectively detached? Or are you going to create a fantasy or a projection? That's the difference between real and fantasy. Is this sinking in? Is this resonating with you? Please let me know if it is. I'd like to hear your thoughts. Post a comment below. I do my best to read them all in the first 24 hours. As always, if you find value in my videos, please hit that like button. Please share this video. Please subscribe to my channel. and hit that notification bell so you can be notified of new videos. And if you want to connect with me directly, please hit that. Check out the links below to schedule a discovery call with me to see if working with a coach is right for you. All right, I'm going to wrap up this video as I always do. First off, give myself a big, gigantic Jonathan Barrick of self-love. I'm going to reach into the camera and give you a hug of love if that's okay. I'm going to ask you to turn to someone, pet a teddy bear, a pillow, and give it or them a hug of love, because hugs are a great source of love. And let's face it, we could all use more love in our lives. I want to thank Stormy and McCoy and Wanda, Power Chi and Bridge and Beach Lover. Thank you for the love. Sandra, Jahil, Virgil, Virgie, Camille, let's see, Katie, Lynn, Jade, everybody, big hugs. Thanks so much. Wishing you a happy Thanksgiving. Be well. Bye now. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.